15 maids. 2 months. None lasted more than 48 hours. I lasted 48 seconds before those same 3 boys stopped screaming and wrapped their arms around me like I was the first safe thing they'd ever touched. Their father, a man with tattoos carved across his chest and a gun hidden beneath his kitchen counter, stared at me like I'd broken the laws of physics. "No one calms them down," he whispered. "No one." I shrugged. Did anyone ask them what they needed? That question changed everything. It also put a target on my back. If you believe that hard-working mothers deserve a chance, that people shouldn't be ignored just because they're struggling, hit that subscribe button for Ebony and Pearl stories right now. Only people who look down on single moms trying to survive won't subscribe. Let me start at the beginning. My name is Indira Langston. I'm 29 years old, and I'm the mother of a stubborn but brilliant 8-year-old boy named Malik. We used to be okay. Not great, but okay. Then Malik's father disappeared. No warning. No goodbye. No forwarding address. Just gone, like we'd never existed to him at all. Then rent doubled. Then my cleaning company cut my hours. Suddenly, okay became desperate. I was working night shifts at office towers in Seoul, scrubbing floors until my knees ached and my hands cracked. I was sleeping 3 hours a day if I was lucky. I was skipping meals so Malik could eat breakfast before school and still finding eviction notices slipped under my door like threats. Malik needed new school uniforms. The electricity bill was 2 months overdue. And I was so tired I could barely see straight. So when I saw the ad at 2 in the morning, my eyes burning, my back screaming, I didn't hesitate. Private residence hiring. Live-in cleaner. Exceptional pay. Immediate start. No details about the employer. No mention of children. No address listed until you applied. I didn't care. I applied before I could talk myself out of it. I didn't know the job was in a penthouse in Gangnam, the most expensive neighborhood in Seoul. I didn't know the employer was rumored to be the next boss of the Biko clan. I didn't know he had 3 sons who had terrorized every adult within a 5-mile radius. I didn't know anything. I just knew I needed that job. The interview was at 6 in the morning. I'd worked my overnight cleaning shift until 4, gone home to make sure Malik was set for school, and arrived at the penthouse exhausted, desperate, and probably still smelling like industrial disinfectant. The woman who opened the door was Mrs. Han, the house manager. She wore a crisp gray uniform and looked at me with something that might have been pity, or maybe just recognition. "Ms. Langston? You're here for the housekeeping position?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you have experience with children?" I blinked. The ad hadn't mentioned children. "I have an 8-year-old son," I said. "Does that count?" She paused. "It might." She stepped aside to let me in, then stopped. "Before you enter, I should warn you. Mr. Jang has 6-year-old triplet sons. They're spirited." Spirited. That was the nicest lie I had ever heard. "We've had 15 maids in 2 months, she continued. None lasted more than 48 hours. The posting said housekeeping, but frankly, we need someone who can manage the boys too. If you can handle both, the pay triples. 15 maids. 2 months. None lasting more than 48 hours. I should have run. But tripled pay meant I could quit my night job. It meant I could actually see Malik before he fell asleep. It meant I could maybe finally stop drowning. "I can try," I said. That's when I heard the screaming. Not scared screaming. War cry screaming. The kind of screaming that said something very expensive was about to be destroyed. Mrs. Han sighed. "That would be the boys." She led me through the penthouse. Despite the chaos echoing from deeper inside, the place was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Modern furniture that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years. Art on the walls that belonged in museums. And in the middle of all this luxury, 3 identical 6-year-old boys were creating absolute havoc. One was drawing on the wall with a black marker. Long, angry streaks spreading across the white surface like veins. One was throwing couch cushions into the air like grenades, shouting battle cries in Korean. One was chasing the robot vacuum, trying to ride it, crashing into furniture and cackling like a tiny villain. "Boys!" Mrs. Han's voice was sharp, commanding. "Stop this immediately." They didn't even glance at her. "We've tried everything," she said to me, exhausted. Strict nannies. Gentle nannies. Nannies with every certification imaginable. They either can't control the boys or the boys make them so miserable they quit. I watched the chaos. 3 little boys testing every boundary, pushing every limit, begging for someone, anyone, to actually see them. And I thought about what no one else had probably asked. Have you tried asking them what they need? Mrs. Hahn stared at me. What? They're screaming and destroying things because something's wrong. Have you asked them what it is? They're 6. They don't know what they need. They know exactly what they need, I said. They just don't know how to ask for it yet. Before she could respond, I walked toward them. The boy drawing on the wall froze. He held the marker up like a weapon, eyes narrowed, daring me to yell at him like everyone else. Who are you? He demanded. Indira. I crouched down to his level. Who are you? The question threw him. He wasn't expecting it. June, he said finally. I'm Min, the one on the couch shouted. And I'm Tay, the vacuum rider added, finally stopping. I looked at all 3 of them. Marker-stained fingers. Cushion feathers in their hair. Sweat on their foreheads from all that destruction. And all 3 of you, I said quietly, are upset about something. They stared at me. Most adults yelled at them. Most adults tried to overpower them. Most adults lost. I asked a different question. What do you need? Silence. All 3 boys froze like I'd pressed pause on the entire room. And in that silence, the front door opened behind me. Mrs. Hahn straightened immediately. The air itself seemed to tighten. I turned around. And there he was. Jang Woo-bin. Tall. Broad shoulders. Expression completely unreadable. His black suit jacket was unbuttoned, and beneath it, no shirt. Just skin and ink. Intricate tattoos carved across his chest and shoulders like a living storm. Symbols I didn't recognize wrapping around muscle and bone. He looked like authority. He looked like danger. He looked like the kind of man who did not tolerate nonsense from anyone. Except maybe from the 3 little boys now clinging to my arms like I was the safest thing they'd ever touched. What is happening here? His voice was low. Controlled. It didn't need to be loud to command the room. The triplets' heads whipped toward him. Appa. They let go of me and ran toward him, then stopped halfway, remembering they'd been mid-destruction. Woo-bin's eyes traveled from the marker-stained wall, to the scattered cushions, to the vacuum still humming in circles. Then to me. You're the new cleaner? He asked. Yes. And the boys. He looked at them, then back at me, like he couldn't process what he was seeing. They were hugging you. Seems like it. He stared at me like I was a puzzle with missing pieces. No one calms them down, he said quietly. No one. I met his gaze and shrugged. Did anyone ever ask them what they wanted? The look on his face told me everything. He could command armies. He could run an empire. But he had no idea how to understand his own children. If you believe children deserve to be heard, not just controlled, subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories right now. Only people who think kids should be ignored won't hit that button. And comment what time you're watching this. Let's see who's here. Because what happened next in that penthouse changed everything. Not just for those boys, but for me. And trust me, I wasn't ready for any of it. Woo-bin was still staring at me like I performed some kind of impossible magic when Tay tugged at my sleeve. Indira's sigh, he whispered. Can you sit with us? I glanced at Mrs. Hahn, then at Woo-bin. Neither moved. So I sat, cross-legged, right there on the floor in the middle of the living room chaos. And all 3 boys immediately crawled onto my lap like baby koalas finding a tree. June pressed his face against my shoulder. Min wrapped his arms around my neck. Tay curled into my side like he was afraid I'd disappear if he let go. Woo-bin didn't move. He just stood there, frozen, watching his sons be gentle for what looked like the first time in years. They've thrown chairs at professionals, he said quietly, almost to himself. They've bitten nannies. They've screamed until their throats went raw. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just held them tighter. Later that afternoon, Mrs. Hahn pulled me aside while the boys napped. You should know something, she said, her voice low. About the boys. I waited. Their mother died 2 years ago. Since then, they haven't seen a therapist. Mr. Jang tried, but they refused to speak to anyone. They just shut down. Or exploded. My heart cracked. So all this chaos, I said slowly. The screaming, the destruction. Grief. Mrs. Han finished. Unmet needs. Fear of getting attached to anyone who might leave. I looked toward the bedroom where 3 little boys were sleeping peacefully for maybe the first time in months. They weren't wild. They were heartbroken. And no one had known how to help them carry it. My first full day in that penthouse was exhausting. But not because of the boys. It was exhausting because they wouldn't leave my side. I cleaned the kitchen. They helped by handing me sponges and asking 1,000 questions. I organized the playroom. They followed me around like ducklings, showing me every toy, every drawing, every broken thing they wanted me to fix. I told them a story before lunch. Just something I made up about a brave knight and 3 dragon brothers who protected their kingdom. They listened like I was giving them water after years in a desert. By dinner, all 3 had claimed permanent spots next to me at the table. And I realized something. They didn't need discipline. They needed presence. They needed someone who wasn't going to leave. Wu Bin watched me all day. Not in a creepy way. Not even in a romantic way. More like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't make sense. That evening, he found me in the hallway after I'd tucked the boys into bed. "Why haven't you quit?" he asked. "Excuse me. Everyone quits. The yelling, the mess, the tantrums. It breaks people. But you're still here." I leaned against the wall, tired but steady. "Because they don't scare me," I said. "They're not scary. They're sad. There's a difference." He didn't respond. But something shifted in his expression. Like he was seeing me for the first time. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. Men in black suits with earpieces stationed at every entrance. Doors that were always locked. Rooms I was never allowed to enter. Meetings that happened late at night behind soundproof walls. Cash hidden behind books in the study. Stacks of it. More money than I'd ever seen in my life. And the way people spoke to Wu Bin, not like he was wealthy. Like he was dangerous. I started to suspect this wasn't just a rich man's penthouse. This was something else entirely. One night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered into the kitchen for water and found Wu Bin sitting alone at the table, staring at nothing. "You're up late," I said. "I don't sleep much." I sat across from him. "Me neither." Silence. Then he spoke, voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "I don't know how to do this. The parenting. Any of it. Their mother. She was the one who knew how to reach them. I just provided. Protected. But I don't know how to be soft." I felt the weight of his words settle over the room. "I don't know how I'm still standing either," I admitted. "Some days I feel like I'm held together by caffeine and fear. But I keep going because Malik needs me to. And your boys, they need you to keep going too." He looked at me then. Not like a boss looking at an employee. Like one broken person recognizing another. That night, everything changed. I was half asleep when I heard the front door open. Urgent, hurried. Footsteps. Whispers. I crept to the hallway and saw a man I didn't recognize, bruised, bleeding from his temple, speaking rapidly to Wu Bin in Korean. I caught only fragments. The rival clan. They made their move. "Boss, it's not safe." Wu Bin's expression didn't change. But his hand moved to the kitchen counter and pulled out a gun. A real gun. Hidden beneath the marble like it belonged there. My blood went cold. This wasn't just a rich man with sad children. This was the future head of a Korean crime syndicate. And I had just moved into his house. With my son waiting for me back home. I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding, and thought, what have I gotten myself into? If you believe mothers and children deserve safety, not danger, subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories right now. Only people who side with violence and chaos won't hit that button. Drop a comment, protect the innocent. Let's see who's really watching. Because what came next? It tested everything I thought I knew about survival. And about the man I was starting to trust. I should have left that night. I should have grabbed my things, walked out the door, and never looked back. But I thought about the eviction notices. The cut electricity. Malik needing school uniforms. And I thought about 3 little boys who'd finally stopped screaming because someone asked them what they needed. So I stayed. And I made a decision that would change everything. I brought Malik to live with me in the penthouse. Wu Bin didn't hesitate when I asked. "Bring him," he said. "There's a guest room. He'll be safe here." Safe. That word felt strange coming from a man who kept a gun beneath his kitchen counter. But I didn't have another choice. The next day, Malik moved in with his backpack, his soccer ball, and his 8-year-old suspicion of everything. "Why are we living with strangers?" he whispered to me that first night. "Because Mama needs this job," I said. "And these boys, they need us too." He didn't look convinced. But the next morning, something shifted. The triplets met Malik at breakfast, and it was like watching magnets click together. June showed him his marker collection. Min challenged him to a cushion fight. Tay asked if he wanted to race the robot vacuum. By lunch, all 4 boys were inseparable. Malik became the big brother they'd never had. And for the first time since their mother died, the triplets had someone their own size to play with. Someone who didn't treat them like problems. The breakthrough came 3 days later. I was cleaning the living room when I heard a crash from the boys' bedroom. Then screaming. But not the angry kind. The devastated kind. I ran in and found Tay on the floor, surrounded by broken glass. He'd knocked over a photo frame, the only picture of their mother displayed in the room. Her face smiled up from the shattered glass, frozen in time. Tay was shaking, tears streaming down his face. "I broke it," he sobbed. "I broke Iyama. I broke her." June and Min stood frozen, pale with fear, like they expected punishment, or worse, for someone to take the photo away forever. I knelt beside Tay and pulled him into my arms. "You didn't break her," I said softly. "You broke the glass. That's all. The picture is still here. She's still here." He buried his face in my shoulder, crying so hard his whole body trembled. "I miss her," he choked out. "I miss her and I don't remember her voice anymore." That broke something open in all 3 of them. June started crying. Then Min. All 3 boys collapsed into me, sobbing. 2 years of grief finally finding somewhere to go. I held them and let them cry. And I didn't notice Wu Bin standing in the doorway until I looked up and saw his face. He looked like a man watching something he thought he'd never see again. His sons. Being held. Being soft. Being children. He turned and walked away without a word. But I saw his hand go to his eyes before he disappeared down the hall. That night, he found me in the kitchen after the boys were asleep. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for what you did today. I just held them. No one's been able to do that. Not since." He stopped. Swallowed. "Not since their mother." I waited. "She died because of me," he said finally. "The assassination attempt. It was meant for me. She was in the car. I wasn't." The words hung in the air like smoke. "The guilt," he continued, barely above a whisper. "It's eating me alive. Every time I look at them, I see her. And I know it's my fault they don't have a mother." I didn't know what to say. So I just told the truth. They don't blame you. They just miss her. And they need you to still be here. Not drowning in guilt. Present. With them. He looked at me like no one had ever said that to him before. Maybe no one had. The danger came closer the very next day. I picked Malik up from school and noticed a black car following us. 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5. It didn't stop until we reached the penthouse. That night, Wu Bin came home with a look I hadn't seen before. Fear. "There was a message," he said. "Left on my private elevator. They know where I live. They know about the boys." He doubled the security overnight. More guards. More cameras. More locked doors. But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't sure it would be enough. Later, I found him watching me play with the boys through the window. "Why do you care so much about them?" he asked quietly. "They're not yours." I looked at June showing Min a drawing, at Tay trying to teach Malik a Korean word. "Because someone needs to," I said. "Because they deserve to be children. Not problems. Not burdens. Just kids." He didn't respond. But when I looked at him, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Hope. Fragile, uncertain hope. Like he was letting himself believe things could be different. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe it because of me. I made a mistake. I was on the phone with Mrs. Han, standing in the hallway, thinking the boys were asleep. "I don't know if I can stay," I said quietly. "The car that followed us, if they know where Malik goes to school, if they're watching us. I can't put my son in that kind of danger." I didn't hear the footsteps behind me. I didn't see 3 small faces appear around the corner. But I heard the scream. "No! I spun around. June was standing there, eyes wide, face red, hands balled into fists. "You can't leave," he shouted. "You promised." Before I could respond, the other two erupted. Min grabbed a toy car and hurled it across the room. Tay started screaming. Not words, just raw, animal sound. June swept his arm across a shelf, sending books and figurines crashing to the floor. It was the worst meltdown I'd seen. Worse than the first day. Because this wasn't chaos for attention. This was terror. "Boys!" I tried to step forward. "You're leaving like everyone else." June screamed. "You said you'd stay. You lied." Tay was crying so hard he couldn't breathe. Min had his hands over his ears, rocking back and forth. I didn't know what to do. Then Malik stepped into the room. My 8-year-old son walked straight into the storm and stood in front of me. "Stop," he said firmly. Not yelling, just steady. "She's not leaving because she doesn't care. She's scared because people are following us. She's trying to protect me." The triplets froze, chests heaving. "But you don't get it," Malik continued, looking at them. "You're scared she'll leave like everyone else." "Right." June's lip trembled. He nodded. "She won't," Malik said. "My mom doesn't leave people. She's the only one who never leaves." He looked back at me. And I broke. Because I realized what I was to these boys. Not a maid. Not a nanny. The only stable adult they'd trusted in 2 years. And I was about to do exactly what everyone else had done. I sat down on the floor. Right there, in the middle of the destroyed room. I opened my arms. "Come here," I whispered. Tay moved first. Then Min. Then June. All 3 boys collapsed into me, sobbing so hard their bodies shook. 2 years of grief, 2 years of abandonment, 2 years of being treated like problems instead of children. It all came pouring out at once. I held them and let them cry. Malik sat beside me, one hand on Tay's back. And that's when I heard footsteps behind me. Woo Bin stood in the doorway. I don't know how long he'd been there. Long enough to see everything. His face was pale. His jaw tight. Then his knees buckled. He didn't fall, but he lowered himself to the ground like the weight of it all had finally become too heavy. "Please," he said, voice cracking. "Please stay." I looked at him. "Name your salary," he continued. "Name anything. I'll give you whatever you want. Just, please, don't leave them." The desperation in his voice broke something in me. "I want to stay," I said. "But I can't put Malik in danger." A car followed us. "They know his school. If something happened to him because of me, then stay here," Woo Bin said immediately. "Both of you. Full time. I'll have guards at the school. I'll have men outside the building. I'll protect him like I protect my own sons." He looked at Malik, then back at me. "You're not staff to me anymore," he said quietly. "You're family. All of you. And I protect my family." The word hit me like a wave. Family. Before I could respond, the lights flickered. Then the alarms went off. Woo Bin's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, and his face went cold. "Get the children to the safe room. Now." "What's happening?" I asked, already pulling the boys to their feet. "They're here. The rival clan. They've breached the parking garage." My blood turned to ice. I grabbed all 4 boys, 3 triplets and my son, and ran. Woo Bin's men were already moving through the penthouse, guns drawn, voices clipped and urgent. I heard shouting from below then. Gunfire. Sharp. Loud. Real. The boys screamed. I shoved them into the safe room, reinforced walls, steel door, no windows, and put my body between them and the entrance. "Stay behind me," I said. "Don't move. Don't make a sound." June was shaking. Min had his eyes squeezed shut. Tay was whimpering. Malik grabbed my hand. "Mom," he whispered. "Are we going to die?" "No," I said. "I won't let anything happen to you. Any of you." The gunfire lasted maybe 2 minutes. It felt like 2 hours. Then silence. A knock on the door. "It's clear," Woo Bin's voice came through. "They're gone." My men handled it. I opened the door and saw him standing there. Shirt torn, knuckles bleeding, but alive. He looked at me. At the 4 boys huddled behind me. At the way I'd shielded them with my own body. And something shifted in his eyes. Not gratitude. Something deeper. If you believe families deserve protection, not bullets, subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories right now. Only cowards who target innocent children won't hit that button. Comment, families over violence, if you stand against anyone who brings war to a home with kids inside. Because after that night, everything changed. Wu Bin made me a promise. And I made one back. But the rival clan wasn't finished. And the next move they made would force all of us to decide what we were really willing to sacrifice. The night after the attack, Wu Bin found me in the hallway outside the boys' room. His knuckles were bandaged. His shirt had been changed. But his eyes, they still carried the weight of what had almost happened. I won't let anything touch them, he said quietly. Or you. I swear it. I wanted to believe him. I think I did. Inside the room, the triplets were awake, huddled together on June's bed, waiting. When I walked in, all three heads turned toward me. June spoke first. Are you leaving us? His voice was so small. So scared. Min grabbed my hand. We'll be good forever. We promise. We won't break anything. We won't scream. Tae's eyes filled with tears. Just don't go. Please. Please don't go. I knelt in front of them. And I finally understood. They didn't need a maid. They didn't need someone to clean up after them or enforce rules or survive their chaos. They needed a mother. Someone who would stay. Someone who would see them. Someone who wouldn't walk out the door and never come back. And Wu Bin. He needed someone too. Not a nanny. Not an employee. A partner in the impossible task of raising 3 grieving boys while carrying his own unbearable guilt. I looked at their faces, tear-streaked, terrified, desperate. And I made my choice. I'm here, I said. I'm not going anywhere. All 3 of them crashed into me at once. Arms around my neck. Faces buried in my shoulders. Tiny hands gripping my shirt like I was the only solid thing in the world. I held them and let them hold me. Wu Bin appeared in the doorway. He didn't interrupt. He just watched. When the boys finally pulled back, sniffling, exhausted, but calm, he stepped forward. I want to offer you something, he said. Permanent residence here. Full protection for you and Malik. A salary triple what we discussed. I opened my mouth to respond, but he continued. And something else. He paused. A place here. With us. Not as staff. He didn't say the word. But I heard it anyway. Family. That night, the triplets fell asleep in the living room. June's head on my lap. Min curled against my side. Tae sprawled across my legs like a starfish. Malik was beside me, leaning on my shoulder, out cold. 4 boys. 4 heartbeats. All of them finally at peace. Wu Bin stood in the doorway, watching. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. I looked at this room, this family I never expected to have, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Belonging. Not because I tamed wild boys, but because I finally let myself stay. If you believe every child deserves someone who won't leave, subscribe to Ebony and Pearl Stories right now. Only people who abandon the ones who need them most won't hit that button. Comment, I stayed for this, if you watched until the end. Because this story isn't over. It's just beginning.